Good morning and welcome to our Dialogue for Development Forum. This morning, we are going to be looking at empathy and compassion in the workplace. My name is Jerry Bleman. I'm the Executive Director of the Caribbean Center for Organizational Excellence and host for this morning's forum. We are really grateful that you have joined us. Thank you so very much. Now, on this particular subject area, the workplace has often been determined to be exactly that, the workplace, the place where individuals are employed to work. If such is the case, the question is always asked, why the apprehension and wide-scale concerns and demands on the workplace to be one of empathy and compassion? If indeed on-the-job empathetic connections is probably among the most important ingredients for driving productivity, for driving performance, and ultimate job satisfaction in the workplace, why is a concern that empathy and compassion is expressed in the workplace? Is empathy and compassion in the workplace under threat? And has the work environment been undergoing subtle change that's been giving rise to less than empathetic environments? These are the questions that we are going to be addressing in this morning's session. And we will be addressing the difference between empathy and compassion. We will consider efforts to foster empathy and compassion in the workplace. And in the era of AI, understanding the current state of the workplace vis-a-vis AI and the significance of empathy and compassion in the AI era will feature as we have this conversation this morning. We are honored to welcome Aisha Shasta to this segment of the CCOE's Dialogue for Development to address this matter of empathy and compassion in the workplace. Aisha is a behavioral competence expert. She's a former beauty queen, an entrepreneur, and an advocate of education. She as well is the director of international programs at Soft Skills AHA USA. Her diverse experiences span that of winner of the prestigious World Miss University title, television program host, head of a top-notch creative communications firm, and creator of PSA programs and campaigns for the British Red Cross and UNICEF. She holds a bachelor's degree in mass media with a specialization in advertising from the prestigious Sophia College of Arts and Sciences, Mumbai, India. And she's very passionate about changing the world one soft skill at a time. And that I know for a fact, having interacted over the past years with Aisha. And she is very driven about enabling the emergence of a dynamic, versatile global workforce. She enjoys reading, observing life, meditating, writing, and engaging in meaningful and profound conversations. And again, I can attest to that. We've had so many powerful, meaningful conversations over the past 2 years or thereabouts. Joining Aisha to critique this conversation will be business executive Terence DeCosta, an advertising and brand communication specialist, and again, a great friend of mine, who I have often considered to be such a wise gentleman, and we appreciate it that he will be doing a critique of this conversation just after the presentation by Aisha. Now, Aisha and Terence will be taking questions at the end of the presentation, and so we want to encourage you to place those in our questions and comments portal for address towards the end of this session. So with that, I want to welcome Aisha to present to us this morning on empathy and compassion in the workplace. Thank you so very much, Aisha, and over to you.
Thank you, Jerry. Good morning to all of you. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. So it is really a pleasure to be here, Jerry, especially to talk about an important topic, which is empathy and compassion in the workplace. which I simply like to call mindfulness in the workplace. So today I will be talking about 4 specific topics. One is the difference between empathy and compassion, because a lot of times we think both are same or similar. Yes, they are definitely related, but there are distinct differences between the two. I'd like to touch upon that a bit today. Then I will be talking about the efforts that organizations have taken in the past years to foster empathy and compassion in the workplace. Then I will be delving into navigating the AI era, basically understanding the current state of the workplace. We all know that the AI era is here. I would like to take this opportunity to share some of the things that are already happening in the workplace. And then finally, I will be ending with the significance of empathy and compassion in the AI era. Why is it so important to have empathy and compassion, especially in the AI era today? So I will start with the difference between empathy and compassion by definition. So empathy is defined as our feeling of awareness toward other people's emotions and an attempt to understand how they feel. It definitely differs from sympathy, where one is moved by the thoughts and feelings of another, but maintains an emotional distance. Whereas compassion is defined as an emotional response to empathy or sympathy. And here the difference is that it creates a desire to help. Now, again, empathy is about trying to understand another person, and it also shares, a lot of times it is very resonating with one another. It resonates with one another, basically because you probably have shared experiences and therefore you're able to empathize. But when it comes to compassion, you may not have shared similar experiences, but that does not stop you from caring for another person or feeling concerned for another person. And it just does not stop there. With compassion, what happens is you feel this innate desire to do something about it, to take action so that you can alleviate the pain or suffering from the other person. Now, I would like to provide a few examples, empathy in the workplace. The first example would be colleagues respectfully listening to their co-workers, trying to understand their perspectives, and then sharing their own point of view during brainstorming sessions without insulting others or turning the session into a debate. Again, this is very, this is very relatable because you yourself would not want to be insulted, correct? You yourself would want your point of view to be understood or given that respect. So if you would want that, you of course can understand that others would want that too. So that's empathy. Then another example would be a company's leadership. Basically, a company's leader shows empathy by genuinely listening to feedback from employees and then incorporating them into their business processes. Now, maybe this leader used to be an employee or was not in a leadership position earlier, and maybe his or her point of view was not incorporated into the business process. And so this time, because the person is in the leadership position, decides to make sure that the employee's point of view is incorporated into the business process. Another example, again, would be managers would empathize with their team members having, let's say, a bad day, and then basically ask them to take the day or week off. Now, maybe the senior of the manager maybe gave the manager a day off and therefore decides to continue that practice. So that is more empathy, which is again about resonating, which is relatable. But when it comes to compassion, the example would be slightly different. The first one would be a scenario where you support a colleague facing personal challenges. right? So maybe a health issue or family crisis. So something personal, and you are able to provide listening ear to the person. And where, it sounds something like, I understand that you're going through a tough time. If you need to take some time off, or if there's any way I can help you with your workload, please let me know. Now, remember, it sounds a little bit like empathy, of course, where you say, you can take some time off. But when you say, please let me know if I can help you with your workload, that is going the extra mile. That is taking a step further. Another example would be, let's say, recognizing and acknowledging achievements, right? So whenever somebody achieves something or there is an acknowledgement, then what happens is everyone claps, and then everyone says congratulations and goes about with their day. But imagine after everything is done, you go and you tell your coworker genuinely from your heart, you know what, you really did a great job. And because of you, this project really became successful. Good on you. And thank you so much for all that effort that you put. So that is, again, taking that step forward. So that is compassion. And the best example that I could give with regard to compassion would definitely be mentoring and development. So demonstrating compassion in a professional context can involve mentoring and supporting the growth of your colleagues. So imagine offering guidance, sharing your knowledge, and providing constructive feedback that can contribute to their professional development, right? So you are genuinely wanting to help the other person grow. So in return, you may not be getting anything except for that ultimate joy of seeing someone do great and to encourage the other person. That is just priceless. So how is empathy and compassion different by emotional involvement? So by now you can already probably imagine that empathy will be more emotionally involving because you will be mirroring almost the person's experience, right? It's relatable, so you're therefore mirroring. So in terms of emotional involvement, empathy will require more of that. But when it comes to compassion, on the other hand, it does involve concern and care for the other person's well-being without necessarily experiencing the same emotions that they are going through. So it is more action-oriented and rather than mirroring emotions. Difference by perspective. So when it comes to empathy, it involves understanding the emotions and feelings of another person from their perspective, seeing the situation through their eyes. Whereas compassion does not necessarily require understanding the other person's perspective fully, but it focuses on supporting and assisting to ease their suffering, regardless of whether you completely comprehend their feelings or not. Then the difference by emotional boundary. So empathy can sometimes be emotionally draining because you are essentially feeling with the other person, and it may lead to emotional exhaustion or burnout if not managed properly. But compassion, while compassion involves care and concern, it does allow for emotional boundaries. So you can offer support and help without getting overwhelmed by taking on the other person's emotions. And finally, difference by orientation. So empathy is feeling oriented. So it focuses on more understanding and sharing emotions with the other person, whereas compassion, as I mentioned earlier, is action-oriented. You feel this innate desire to do something about it, go above and beyond, take that extra mile. So it motivates you to offer assistance and provide comfort to those in need. And both empathy and compassion are valuable qualities that contribute to building strong and supportive relationship with others. The second part of the presentation is about fostering empathy and compassion in the workplace. So the questions that I asked was, are organizations actively taking steps to promote empathy and compassion in the workplace? And are empathy training programs or initiatives being implemented to enhance employee relations and well-being? The answer is yes. So you may have heard about employee assistance programs, or what's called as EAPs normally. So this kind of a program is incorporated into the organization in order to support personal or work-related challenges. So this program includes mental health aspects of the employee, stress management issues. Basically, this program tries to create a work-life balance for the employee. And it's also a program that helps to show that organizations care about the employee's overall well-being. Then there is flexible work arrangements. This is also part of fostering empathy and compassion in the workplace. We all know about remote and hybrid work arrangements. There are flexible hours that companies provide. Basically, it's about how to figure out that work and life can be well integrated for the employee, because a lot of employees may be pursuing job training, or maybe or currently doing education or caring for family members. So organizations need to try and understand how to integrate work and life for the employees. Next is diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives to create more equal and just workplace. So we have heard of diversity and inclusion, but equity is something that is being talked about as well, where a one-size-fits-all attitude does not work. Companies need to look at employees' needs and requirements and be able to provide a just workplace, a fair and equal just workplace. So then there is empathy training programs that are also provided by organizations to make everybody, including those in the leadership position, including those including for the employees, they provide training sessions to better understand empathy. So there are three types of empathy. One is cognitive. I understand how you think. The next type of empathy is emotional. I understand how you feel. And then the third one is empathic concern. So this is more like being genuinely concerned about the other person. So in these training programs, these concepts are introduced to employees, and they're also encouraged to become active listeners. Only when you're active listeners, then you're able to genuinely be present there in the workplace with your team members, right? Then also introducing them to concepts of emotional intelligence. We've been hearing emotional intelligence a lot these days, and that is a very important topic that needs to be discussed and talked about in the workplace. And also practicing empathy in the workplace. How are they doing this? They even do role-playing sessions where they provide certain situations, and then employees are trained to respond in an empathetic manner. And finally, there is employee recognition and rewards. Now, this is something that happens almost everywhere. And I believe that recognizing someone's hard work and rewarding them is definitely something that must be done. And I was quite curious to see what Google has been doing to foster empathy and compassion in the workplace. In terms of health and wellness, financial incentives, time incentives, community and personal development, and they also have something called Googly Extras. So basically in health and wellness, Google provides facilities like medical, dental, and vision insurance for employees and dependents, employee assistance programs, the EAPs that I talked about earlier, focused on mental health, and they also provide access to mental health apps. Then there's medical advocacy program for transgender employees as well. With regard to financial incentives, Google provides regular bonuses, competitive compensation, and even student loan reimbursements. In terms of time incentives, Google, of course, provides flexible time, paid time off, including for vacations, bereavement, jury duty, sick leave, parental leave, disability, holidays. And they also provide part-time and job sharing options, hybrid work model, and also provide 4 work from anywhere weeks per year. Community and personal development, basically, they provide education reimbursement, Googler to Googler peer learning and coaching platform, internal Googler community groups, and local culture clubs. And then finally, in Googly Extras, we all know about Google's amazing and inspiring workspaces. That's there. Along with that, they provide on-site meals and snacks, fitness centers, massage programs, and ergonomic support, on-demand fitness, well-being, cooking classes, and even art programs. And they have something called Talk at Google. This is basically a corporate interview sessions that's conducted for the Google employees. This is later then uploaded on YouTube, so we can all have a look at it as well. Then there is legal services that's provided, and there's something called Googlers, and where you can bring your dogs to work. Very interesting. Moving on, now I would like to delve into this topic, which is navigating the AI era. So what is the present state of the workplace in the era of AI, and what are the current trends? As I mentioned, we all know that we are in the AI era, but what is already happening in the workplace? I would just like to talk a little about that today. So according to Zippia, which is the online recruitment service, you must have all heard about it, they conducted a research on AI and job loss statistics. And according to their research, just recently, just 2 to 3 months ago, the industries where soft skills aren't a major part of job requirements. So soft skills, as you may all know, are interpersonal skills, skills that require, those are human skills, right? Social skills. So industries where soft skills are not a major part of a job requirement, half of all companies worldwide are currently utilizing AI in some fashion. So already that is happening. And perhaps that is why 27% of employees have already started feeling anxiety over the possibility of new innovations, robots, or AI. And 49% believe people have already lost their jobs to AI as organizations look to technology for budget cuts and staff reduction, especially after COVID. So definitely the fear and anxiety is there in the collective consciousness in the workplace today. And the truth is that AI could take away jobs of as many as 1 billion globally over the next decade, and 375 million jobs are predicted to be obsolete. That is why definitely there is a widespread need for retraining and reskilling the workforce. The good news, however, is the good news is also there where the glass is half full as well, where AI could create 97 million jobs, new jobs, and be able to generate approximately $15.7 trillion for the economy by 2030, while eliminating mundane tasks and helping workers enjoy more creativity. So also, if displaced workers are reemployed within 1 year, it could lift the overall economy. Otherwise, unemployment could rise and economy could dip. So it's important to ask what types of jobs are susceptible to AI automation. And simply, you just have to think that, any job related to physical activities, mundane tasks, right? So physical activities, data collection and processing, all of that are susceptible to AI automation. And those jobs that deals with managing people, as I mentioned, soft skills, people skills, that requires emotional intelligence, because there are 2 types of intelligence, right, that we have. One is IQ and one is EQ. So anything pertaining to IQ, which is the human intelligence, that will be taken over by AI. But anything to do with EQ or emotional intelligence that requires, you need EQ to manage people, applying expertise and interacting socially, those type of jobs are not susceptible to AI. So that begs the question, what are the 12 jobs AI robots will likely replace? The first one is customer service executives. Now, you might say customer servicing is about people's skills. So how come this job is susceptible to AI? Now, and we all know that online, whenever we ask some certain questions, there will be a bot on the other side responding to us. Now, a lot of times there will be frequently asked questions, and those are the questions that will be definitely automated. But when let's say the issue is quite complex, that is when human intervention will be required. Then there is bookkeeping and data entry, receptionists, proofreading, manufacturing and pharmaceutical work, retail services, courier services, even doctor, because doctor basically listens to the symptoms, the vital signs, and then they're able to diagnose the ailment, right? So AI will be able to probably scan you and be able to give you a whole analysis of what you need to do, or what basically provide the diagnosis. We've all, and even soldiers, we've all heard about the drones that is being used. Then there is taxi and bus drivers. We've also heard about self-driving cars. So maybe taxi and buses will also become self-driving pretty soon. Then market research analyst. So when it comes to AI, we have to understand that AI, it's not just about compressing of information. AI means machine learning. So it is able to learn. It is able to learn the principles and apply it just the same way a human can with their human intelligence, right? So market research analyst would also, of course, be susceptible to AI. And then there is security guards. Now, with the motion sensors and heat sensors in the CCTV cameras, you can, it can be instantaneously alerted. The authorities can be instantaneously alerted. So security guards are also, this job is also susceptible to AI. Now, what are the 12 jobs that AI isn't likely to replace, will not, or is not likely to replace? So again, to do with management, so human resource managers, so anything to do with management, people skills, creativity, originality, all of that types of jobs will not be susceptible to AI. And so human resource managers, writers, lawyers, chief executives, scientists, clergy members, psychiatrists, event planners, graphic designers, public relations managers, software developers, and project managers, right? On the other hand, we also have to remember that AI can become a significant part of our jobs. So if you look at AI as a tool, just the way there was a time when we all had to learn computers, because that became a part and parcel of our life. So our phone in itself is a computer. Similarly, if you look at AI as a tool, as an important and a tool that can help you become better at your job, then you will be approaching the changes with the correct attitude. So, for example, surgeons can use technology to perform procedures more quickly, cleanly, and safely. So a little bit about the current trends in the workplace. So of course, there is increased automation. So any task, any job that is repetitive and mundane, so any mundane tasks, those are being automated, which is then freeing up human workers to focus on more complex and creative aspects of their jobs. So this has resulted in increased efficiency and productivity in various industries. Another is the trend currently is data analysis and insights. So AI-powered data analytical tools have enabled businesses to process and analyze vast amounts of data quickly. So this has provided valuable insights for decision-making, customer profiling, and predicting market trends. Another trend that's happening in the workplace is AI augmented jobs. So instead of fully replacing human worker, AI has augmented many job roles. So earlier I talked about the customer service representatives. So imagine the person does not have to keep answering and answering the same questions on and on, right? So that the AI is there to help with the frequently asked questions. Similarly, in healthcare professionals, now healthcare industry is going to be massively disrupted by AI. And one of the examples for healthcare professionals with AI augmented jobs is imagine a very busy hospital, especially the emergency department, and there is something called triage level, where doctors and nurses are supposed to identify which patient will need immediate help and which patient they can tend to later. Now that is something called triage level. Now, based on the symptoms, based on science, AI basically will be able to provide the triage level immediately, and that has helped save a lot of patients' lives as well. And of course, research in the field of research, also AI is being used and making everything very efficient and accurate. And finally, the personalization and customer experience. We've all experienced this. If you are looking for shoes, your running shoes, or fitness wears, or whatever you're searching for, suddenly you will find a barrage of information that will come your way that AI thinks you might like. So according to AI, it is helping you to have a more personalized, experience. Of course, the ethical aspects are a little, that's a debate in itself, but AI has been helping with the customer experience for sure. Then there is generative AI, which we all have heard of in the past months. We've all heard of ChatGPT. So what is generative AI? It is simply an AI that is capable of generating text, images, or other media using generative models. So what is generative model? It is the model that can learn the patterns and structure of their input training data, and then they're able to generate new data that has similar characteristics. So ChatGPT is able to take prompts and generate it into texts. Similarly, Bard is able to do the same. We've also heard about DALL-E and Midjourney. They're able to take text and then transform that to images. So generative AI, of course, is a huge trend right now. Then there is something called explainable AI that you'll be hearing of a lot. So as AI systems become more complex, there is a growing need for transparency in AI decision-making processes. So explainable AI techniques aim to provide understandable explanations for AI predictions and recommendations. So the example that I can give you is, let's say you apply for a loan. So through the AI system, the AI will either reject the request or accept the request. But after it decides what to do, it will provide an in-depth, basically explanation of why it was accepted or rejected to maintain transparency. A lot of people have even said that, you know what, this may be good because then it takes away the whole biases that take place. Then, of course, there's AI in remote work, AI in healthcare, AI in human resources, AI in education, and AI in ethics and regulations. So remote work, Zoom, we all know Zoom, Slack, Microsoft Teams. Thanks to AI, here we are today. So remote work, of course, AI is playing a huge role. Healthcare, as was mentioned earlier, it is already helping in medical imaging analysis, drug discovery, and personalized treatment plans as well. In human resources, it is having a significant impact on HR processes, from automating candidate screening and recruitment to analyzing employee performance and sentiment for better talent management. AI in education, that is already happening as well, where AI is able to understand a child's strength and weakness, and is also able to understand the learning, the learning style that is best suited for the child. And then AI is able to provide a customized, a personalized tutoring experience for the student. And I think that's a wonderful thing, for the child. Of course, the ethics and regulations, where governments and organizations are focusing on establishing guidelines and regulations for AI development and deployment to ensure responsible and ethical use. And I'd like to also share a little interesting point that the AI gurus, basically, or those who are, the giants in AI, they themselves kind of think that there needs to be a 6-month pause or a 6-month break in AI development, because it's, after all, a machine learning, right? So it's learning the principles, and it's learning on its own. So they themselves are not able to catch up with what AI is already doing. So it's almost like, imagine hundreds of brilliant grad students that come out of, top colleges, and they together, they create these separate tools by themselves. And then very soon, they will be collaborating with each other and creating some, really profound tools in the days to come. So that is the reality. AI is going to be the AI avalanche is going to take place. The sooner we accept that, the better it will be for all of us. Then, of course, there is virtual assistants and chatbots we all know about. Skills and workforce development, which I talked about earlier. We need to have upskilling and reskilling programs, especially where I normally suggest that everyone must learn something about data analysis, visualization, and data-driven decision-making. So basically, AI is going to be the trend in the workplace. It is going to be part and parcel of the workplace. Because the sooner you learn it's going to be data-driven, right? All the decisions that will be taken will be data-driven. So you need to be able to learn how to read that data, right? So sooner you do some of these crash courses, I think that will be really beneficial for you. Then there is cybersecurity enhancements that's already happening as a current trend, where they're AI is identifying and responding to threats in real time, improving overall data security and reducing vulnerabilities. And finally, there is ethical consideration about this, where, to do with data privacy, algorithmic biases are there, and transparency. So these are very prominent topics that are under discussion at the moment. Now that brings me to the significance of empathy and compassion in the workplace. I mentioned earlier that now more than ever, the workplaces, those in leadership positions, organizations need to be both empathetic and compassionate towards the workforce. So by integrating empathy and compassion into the workplace, as AI rapidly changes how organizations operate, companies can create a supportive and caring environment where employees feel valued, understood, and empowered to navigate the challenges brought about by AI technology. We all know that we've all felt the anxiety. There is this fear of the unknown, and we're all in the same boat, that's for sure. And right now, the difference between a good organization, according to me, the difference between a good organization and a great organization will be very interesting to see, because those organizations who will choose to only be empathetic and say, well, you know what, I understand you, but I'm really sorry, but I have to, there's nothing I can do but to fire you, versus a company which chooses compassion this time, where there is empathy, where they say, yes, I understand you. And you know what? Don't worry. Don't worry. We will make sure that you learn the skills that are required, and we will make sure that you are you feel a part of this trend, and you are there with us, right? So the question is, which company chooses to go above and beyond? That will be interesting to see. So there are certain steps that companies can take in order to foster empathy and compassion in the workplace in the AI era. The first step is training and awareness. So regular training sessions and workshops to not just employees, but even managers and leaders, to make sure that everyone understands how AI impacts roles and how to support colleagues through these transitions with empathy. So a regular conversation or regular training and awareness regarding AI and how it affects, the work that you're currently doing, that becomes very important. Another is, please maintain, if you are in a leadership position, please ensure that you have transparent communication happening in your organization. Because again, fear of the unknown, there is that sense of anxiety. And that is why all the more there is a need for transparent communication. Foster open and transparent communication channels where employees can feel free to express their concerns, their fears, and uncertainties about AI-driven changes in the workplace. Encourage managers to listen empathetically and address their employees' needs with compassion. Another is skill development and reskilling. That's another step that organizations can take and must take. Recognize that AI may lead to shifts in job requirements, so offer skill development and reskilling programs to empower employees with the necessary tools to adapt and remain relevant in the evolving working environment. Please show empathy by supporting their learning journeys and providing resources for upskilling. And just think about it. Right now, where can they look? Who can they look towards? They will look towards those in the leadership position. And I believe a true leader today will be those who will choose to be compassionate and who will make sure that the employees, their concerns are taken into consideration. And of course, if you don't have it already, or if the organizations don't have the EAP programs, it's best to have to design the EAP programs in such a way that it addresses the emotional and mental well-being of employees in the face of AI-driven changes. So these programs can offer things like counseling sessions, stress management support, and resources for coping with workplace transitions. And finally, inclusive decision-making. Please include employees in the decision-making process related to AI integration and workplace changes. Engage in empathetic discussions to understand their concerns and ideas, and please consider their feedback when making AI-related decisions. Demonstrating compassion through inclusive decision making helps build trust and a sense of belonging among employees. So now, all of this points towards emotional intelligence. I will be ending the session with by mentioning 12 competencies that will be very helpful to thrive in the AI era today. And remember, emotional intelligence now needs to be taken seriously by not just employees, but by leaders, managers, everyone, right? So the father of emotional intelligence, Daniel Goleman, mentions 12 competencies that are very helpful and I believe will help us to thrive in this AI era. Emotional self-awareness. Are you emotionally self-aware? The first among the 12 competencies is emotional self-awareness. So the ability to know your own emotions and their effects on your performance. Are you able to self-regulate yourself? The ability to keep your disruptive emotions and impulses in check in order to maintain your effectiveness under stressful or even hostile conditions. Are you able to be positive? The ability to see the best in people, situations, and events so you can be persistent in pursuing goals despite setbacks and obstacles. Are you able to achieve, to strive, to meet a standard of excellence by embracing challenges, taking calculated risks, and looking for ways to do things better? Adaptability. Stay focused on your goals, but adjust how you get there. Remain flexible in the face of change and juggle multiple demands and be open to new situations, ideas, or innovative approaches. Of course, empathy among the 12 competencies, desire to understand how others see things and take active interest in their concerns. Organizational awareness. Are you able to read a group's emotional currents and power relationships, identifying influencers, networks, and the dynamics that matter in decision-making? Are you able to influence? The ability to have a positive impact on others and meaningfully engage people in order to convince or gain their support. Are you able to coach? The ability to further the learning or development of others by understanding their goals, challenging them, giving them timely feedback, and offering them support. Then there is conflict management. Are you able to work through highly charged situations by tactfully bringing disagreements into the open, seeking to understand multiple perspectives, and searching for common ground in order to find solutions people can agree to? And then the 11th competency is teamwork. Are you able to work with others towards a shared goal, build spirit and positive relationships, encourage active participation, and share responsibility and rewards among members of a group? And finally, inspiration. Are you able to inspire? Are you able to bring your best and motivate others around you, around a shared mission or purpose in order to get the job done? So I leave you with one question. It is time to take control of your narrative. Will you make sure that you will be emotionally intelligent to assess the situation that you're in, the current reality that you are in, and to be able to take control? So please take control of your narrative, and then you will definitely be able to thrive in the AI era. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Aisha. What an amazing presentation. Thank you so very much. Terence, I know you're going to give that critique, so without any intervention on my part, please go right on ahead. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Jerry. And thank you, Ayesha, for a brilliant presentation on the concepts of empathy and compassion, especially in the regard to the roles of these human abilities, human skills in the modern workplace. Ayesha went on to expound on the scope and impact of AI on the workplace and how this relatively new dynamic will profoundly impact both the individual as well as the collective, and how it will reshape and restructure how we function professionally. Having done this, she elucidated how empathy, compassion, and emotional intelligence can actually help both the individual and the company to become more efficient, more effective, more successful, and prosperous. Personally, I foresee in the years to come, in the grand theater of modern commerce, I see empathy and compassion emerging as the unsung heroes that will succeed in weaving the threads of humanity into the fabric of workplace success. As organizations evolve into dynamic ecosystems, I see these twin virtues emerging as steadfast pillars that elevate mundane transactions into meaningful interactions. I see empathy dismantling the fortress of individualism. I see it helping us to traverse the landscape of each other's experiences. I believe empathy and compassion will allow us to listen beyond the words and understand beyond the appearance. And just as empathy opens the door, compassion will step forth and bring gifts of solace and understanding. I believe that it is the embrace in the times of strife and difficulty, the lending hand in moments of uncertainty, in toxic environments, and the shared joy in triumphs. Empathy and compassion, we must understand, are bonds that surpass the confines of the job, the scope of work, the cubicle. They are the bridges that span across diverse minds and cultures. They forge connections that enrich not only the bottom line, but the human spirit itself. I believe that the true essence of success lies not just in the balance sheet, but in the echo of shared laughter, the symphony of collaborative endeavors, and the understanding that we are not isolated cogs in the machine, but integral parts of a harmonious whole. As we navigate the currents of modern work, let us heed the call of empathy and compassion, and let us treat these as guiding stars that will help us to forge a future that is worth looking forward to. Thank you so much, and over back to you, Jerry.
Thank you so very much for that very valuable contribution and critique, Terence. Now, we have several questions coming from our various portals. I'm not certain we are going to be in position to address all of them, but I would want for us in the next 5-10 minutes or so to take several of them. The first is this, and it's quite a critical question. Should it be expected that staff leave their personal concerns, whatever these may be, at the entrance of the establishment before coming on the job? How can this thinking be addressed? And I believe that this is being asked in the context of, the emergence of a more empathetic and compassionate workplace. And I don't know if you would want to take that, Aisha or Terence, any of you. Yes, please.
Sure. That is a wonderful question, of course. And that is something that we've all thought about. And yes, a lot of times we think that we have to be a certain way outside of work and a certain way inside when we're entering the workplace. Now, that is usually because also we think that managers or those in leadership positions do not want to hear about the employees' personal lives. They just want to focus on work and get the job done and then go back into our own lives, so to speak. But more and more what is being talked about is leadership qualities that requires managers or those in leadership positions to be able to have the emotional intelligence to provide the listening ear to the employees. And again, according to the father of emotional intelligence, he points out in terms of leadership qualities that, even when an employee talks about or is given an opportunity to express his or her emotions or feelings, let's say about personal life as well, to the supervisor or manager or the leader, what in effect happens is, just by the virtue of listening to the employee, that helps to alleviate a lot of stress and anxiety from the employee. That's one. Another is where, normally managers and leaders, they think that, oh, I need to provide solutions. Not necessarily. You can always help the employee to make the most of the counseling services that perhaps your organization provides, right? But that does not mean that you don't become empathetic and you don't become compassionate towards your employees. So that is just one point I wanted to share here. Terence, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yes, that is a very good question, and I believe that there are two sides that need to have a point of view. One is the employer and the other is the employee. So I would first address it with the side that has the greater responsibility. And I believe that responsibility is on the employer. So the employer needs to allow an environment to be compassionate. It needs to promote empathy. It needs to promote compassion. And I believe the modern workplace invented the role of the human resource department, the human resource manager, to do just that. But the problem that I have with the position human resource manager is that there are three words there, and just one of them is human. And resource is not human, and management is not human. So I believe that the future is going to be about humanity managers that manage humanity and allow humanity to exist and to thrive in the workplace, so that we are able to function as high-functioning humans, not stressed humans. As I see in one of the questions from an anonymous attendee, how can one manage empathy in a very toxic and highly stressed environment? Now, this is a reactionary statement. Here is a reality that we are confronted with in the modern workplace. We might be having webinars and discussions about these subjects, but then one has to go back to a workplace which is toxic and highly stressed. And how do you have any room for empathy there? So this is where I believe that the onus is on the employer to create that environment. Now, from the employee's point of view, we know that a workplace is made out of people. It's not about the walls. It's not about the boss alone. It is about the environment that is made by the people. So you have certain governing policies and rules and principles and ideologies that keep people together. Now, people need to also execute that and live that out. So I believe that if we are able to address this concern from both the employer and the employee's side, we will be able to take care of having empathy and compassion in the modern workplace.
And
Thank
also,
you.
I'd like to add, sorry, Jerry,
Go
I
ahead,
just
Aisha.
wanted to add a small point here. So when leaders, it's been noticed that whatever thoughts or whatever value system that the leader has within himself or herself actually leaks out into the workplace. So the workplace culture is actually determined in a way by how the leader chooses to address empathy and compassion. So if the leader is not interested, sure enough, no matter what other departments do, it will not have the impact that one would want. So I really believe that leaders need to step up, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, that they need to not just be empathetic, but they need to be compassionate, and they need to see how they can create that environment that Terence talked about earlier.
But, you know, I take note of the comment by the autonomous attendee as well, that even the manager is tapped out. And I believe that that is a reference for stressed out. How can they offer empathy to others? So I could well imagine that there are some workplaces that are not only highly toxic, but the doctor also needs a doctor. What are your comments in that regard?
Terence, would you like to do that?
Okay, yeah. So, Jerry, I understand the question you're asking is, if the manager himself is stressed out and he has no energy left, how is he able to offer empathy to others?
Correct.
So this is where it's not humanly possible, nor is it humane to expect the manager to be able to perform in that manner, because the manager is, after all, a man or a human and not a superhuman, you know. So I believe that again, the onus is on the company to ensure that there is a procedure in place to ensure that if one manager is not capable of offering a lending hand or an understanding presence, there should be a backup, and that should happen, and it should happen as urgently as it would be, you know, if you had one missing salesperson at a counter to attend to customers, and that is like abominable. If you have a missing salesperson and you have a customer at the desk, and you don't have anybody to attend, I think employees are as important as customers.
Yes, excellent, excellent. We probably have time for just one more question, because we are now past the 11 o'clock hour. But this one in particular, I just feel obligated to place for conversation. We speak, and it says this, we speak about empathy. Is this something that can be taught? This is asked in the context of some recruiters saying, come with the right attitude and we will train you on the task. Can one be trained to express or show empathy? I think that's such an important question in the context of our conversation. Would you want to make an attempt at that one, Aisha?
I believe yes. These are all learnable skills, and perhaps the reason why it is not maybe taught, it has not been taught earlier in the workplace, is because they never felt the need to, because we focus so much on the IQ part of things that now the EQ part of things are becoming much more important. So yes, it is learnable. It can be taught. That is where soft skills come into place, where soft skills is about these people skills, human skills, to be able to understand what is positive attitude, how can you become a good leader, how can you be able to become active listener. I even talked about the role playing earlier, where if organizations really take that seriously, and then on top of that, if you create a culture in such a way that it is a most important culture in the workplace, then definitely, there will be an environment that will help people to learn faster and understand these concepts. But yes, it is able to be taught. You can learn it as well.
Yes. Any comments on this, Terence, and final words, of course?
Yes. I believe that the secret to the success of this is in time. And there is a reason why we spend approximately 20 years growing up and experiencing an upbringing. So that is where we are taught how to value the other. That is when we are taught how to respect the others. But at the same time, all is not lost if we weren't paying attention while we were growing up. There is always room for us to learn, because we keep on learning for many decades after that. It's not that we stop our learning when we come out of university. In fact, it is said that one keeps on learning till right into old age. So there is scope, for old dogs to learn new tricks, and especially for new dogs to learn new tricks. So I'd also like to address one important thing, and that is time is something that we have taken for granted. We expect quick fixes. We expect instant solutions. That's not something that I would advise. I believe that certain things do take time, and certain things do need to be given the time. There is a reason why time is an integral part of evolution. It's an integral part of growth. It's an integral part of the seasons. You see, so there's a saying in the creative professions: you can't rush art. And I think that there is an artistry to these skills. I'd just like to quickly respond to one question from David Clark. How are professionals' attitudes different from personal attitudes? I believe he meant. Now, the moment we differentiate the professional from the person, we are admitting that a person stops being a person the moment he gets into a professional role. So that is what we have to counter. We have to realize that you are still a person when you are a professional. So I prefer the word personnel and to professional. You see, so a personal and personnel role. You see, so you're still a person. You're still a person, and your personal attitudes should not be any different. And yes, there are certain differences which are not spoken about, and that is, professionally we know where to draw the line. We know what is incorrect, what's not cricket. We play by the book, so there is a set of rules. That set of rules applies to us as persons as well. We forget that there are sets of rules that apply to us as persons as well. Like the right to swing your hand ends where the other's nose begins. So that is something that is not just applicable to the workplace, but also to human interaction. So I believe a balance of personal attitudes need to be brought in, and we need to remember that we are still persons when we are professionals.
So very well said. Thank you so very much, Terence. And I believe that this is a conversation that could easily continue for another 2 hours. And for those who are present, and I can see from across the region, we will be having Aisha and Terence with us again towards the end of the month. You will have notice of that, and they will be speaking on emotional intelligence. I believe Aisha is going to be leading this conversation again on emotional intelligence, which is a continuation from this conversation. So you can look out for that. To those who have requested the recording, this will be sent out in the coming days, so you can look out for that. And I see a final comment, which I just find quite interesting. Excellent presentation. My takeaway is 1, transparent communication and trust. 2, being able to express oneself respectfully without being victimized. 3, as leaders, coaches, supporting the employee's journey. And then the question is raised, who do they look to? And the comment was that that was so very important, and looking forward to part 2. And so with that, I want to give the last word to Aisha, who I believe did an excellent job on this subject area for us this morning. Any final comments? And of course, say goodbye to our audience at the end of your comments for us, please, as well, Aisha.
Oh, thank you, Jerry. So empathy and compassion, I believe, of course, as we all know, are human values, human emotions. And this is not just in the workplace, it's there every day in our lives. And though these are values and these are qualities that are natural, to us. So anything that is effortless, I think now we can be very optimistic, because when mundane tasks are going to be taken over by AI, I look at that as good news, because finally we will be able to be humans. We will be able to collaborate. We will be able to be creative. We'll be able to collaborate over countries, over regions, right? So I think there's lots to look forward to with the AI in this AI era. And let's just be humans. Let's bring this humanity out and bring this. Each one of us can influence our space, whether that's in our personal life or whether that's in our professional life. So wish you all the best. And I am very positive about the days and years to come. Thank you all for tuning in. And thank you, Jerry, for this wonderful session.
Thank you. Take care now.